We're going to take several deep breaths in through our nose and out with a ha. Again, in through your nose. One more time. You are here in this space and you are present. I knew that would happen. Morning.
Morning.
Come on in, sit down. Oh. There. There you go. Okay. All right. Welcome. I'm Reverend Dr. Pamela Hancock, and I am the creator of INHABIT, a mystery school of archetypal witchcraft, and I'll get into what that means in a bit. I'm also a professor of spiritual practices and care of the soul and a chaplaincy director at Star King School for the Ministry. I had way too much to drink last night. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm a priestess of a local coven, Sisters of Moon and Snow, of which we have a representative here. I've been a practicing witch since I was 12 years old, was trained as a priestess in 2011, received my Master's of Divinity in 2015, and my PhD last year in psychology. Wow. And in the midst of all that, I'm a mother and a wife, and I have friends who I get to see every once in a while. Speaking of friends, I bet that's another one. Oh, come on in. I should put someplace sharp to start. Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Come on in.
Okay.
Gonna give you one of these.
Okay, where would you like me to sit?
Anywhere you can fit.
Hold on.
I'll
scoot over. We'll scooch. We'll make
No.
room.
There's another chair in there. I don't know if, somebody wants to grab it. Get cozy. We're just getting cozy. Here you go, little lady. All right. So, I'm excited to be with you here today as I bring into being INHABIT. There are exciting things on the horizon, such as a public and free spring equinox ritual on March 19th here at the Palace of Bone and Salt. Thanks to Elise. Speaking of which, thank you, our sponsor, for giving us space. And we're going to have more Witches' Sabbaths, and starting in April, I will hold one Witches' Sabbath month for the full moon and one deep dive into archetypal witchcraft class for the new moon. So there is a new schedule, and I'll pass those out. But the rest of March is going to be the same as it was posted. All right. What is archetypal witchcraft? Let's briefly talk about witchcraft in general before we get started, so I can give you some preliminary information before we do like a deep dive into a ritual. As I noted, I have been a practicing witch since I was 12, although I believe I was born this way, as when I was a child, I found my holy places here in these mountains among the towering pines and lush cedars. They spoke to me and nourished me when dealing with an abusive father. I also was drawn to the heavy quartz deposits we have here in this mountain range, if you've noticed all the pretty white stones outside. And I collected small pieces I found in this lake and honored the arrowhead on the front of the mountain, which is also a large quartz deposit, if you didn't know, whenever I passed by. So I feel like I was drawn into the craft by nature herself and all the spirits that live here within our landscape. I then formally began my study of witchcraft with a white witch when I was ages 12 to 14, who taught me the basics and encouraged me along the path. And we are still friends today, which is really sad. Okay, why archetypal witchcraft? So I will go into what that means in a second, I promise. But my reason for sharing archetypal witchcraft is based in my academic career as a Jungian psychologist. So C.G. Jung, who lived in the early to mid 1900s, who coined the term archetype, is why I decided to kind of fish out what archetypal meant for witchcraft. So archetype means the base material of things. So we can think of like when you're a mother, you then inhabit the mother archetype. When you're a child, you're a child archetype, and so forth. So as I've never been drawn to a particular path of witchcraft, but what is the common denominator between many traditions. I thought it was time to bring that type of wisdom into the world of witchcraft. So I'm actually writing an academic book about it, but that's neither here nor there. So what is archetypal witchcraft? The foundational facets of all forms of witchcraft. Archetypal aspects about the tradition are where it gets its power from, because these things are the well-worn pathways seared into our psyche, our collective unconscious, and they spill forth from that well of all being and into all of these traditions. So the bedrocks of witchcraft include totemic objects, which are tools, amulets, crystals, poppets, altars, all the stuff that you're interested in using. Sound, so drumming, rattling, singing bowls, voice. There's a lot of singing in some particular types of witchcraft. The mythic, folklore, journeying, working with divinities and ancestors, and the fae. So mythic, you can think of, well, I don't know if you know much about like Druid traditions and Celtic types of things, but they work with the fae. So that's the mythic within that particular pantheon. Altered states, which Jung himself explained as the transcendent function. So this is meditation, journeying, working with plant medicine. Divination is the next one. So oracles, tarot, scrying, which we'll probably do in October, I would imagine. I'll teach you how to make scrying mirrors, as well as journeying. And then planet medicine. I had a hard time deciding if I was going to say plant medicine or planet medicine, but when you think of the planet as offering us things such as fungi, working with trees, fumes, because the oracles at Delphi, they inhaled fumes. So that's why I say planet medicine, the things that are given to us by the planet. Creation is the next one. So art, making your own tools, writing spells, creating altars. And then the last one is being healing and subversive. So these people, since the beginning of time, have not only worked to save lives, but they've also gone against social norms, breaking boundaries, helping the hopeless, and being truly themselves. Okay, so those are all the archetypal aspects. Goodness. Witches have always existed because of the fact that they are directly tied to our spiritual archetypal landscape. There has always been magic, and there has always been witches. Witchcraft actually has its origins all the way back as far as ancient Greek and Mesopotamian times, okay? So this isn't just something that came up because of Instagram. This is something that's been happening for a very long time. These were the priestesses of magical traditions, those who worked with specific deities, namely Hecate and Ishtar, believed that they could draw on the powers of these primeval feminine forces to change the world around them. Also, based in indigenous beliefs that all matter, such as plants, animals, stars, and stones, are all spiritually alive and can be utilized to assist us in a myriad of ways. Eventually, these systems of belief coalesced into two traditions such as alchemy and paganism such as the Celtic Druids. Witchcraft, as we know it today, probably started in the Middle Ages with green women or healer witches who were practitioners of healing and herbalism, who passed down these wisdoms in oral traditions from generation to generation. These were the women that were then burned at the stake because of the church's fear of their innate powers. And thus, the tradition went underground. And it wasn't until the late 1800s that it reemerged in any public way, and that was due to people like Aleister Crowley, Gerald Gardner, and others who unfortunately kind of put a little bit of a patriarchal spin on these origins and thus created these systems that we understand today, like Wicca, where there's like degrees and you have to go through certain things in specific orders. Not so much. So we don't do that here. But there are these women who are passing these down from generation to generation. And I feel like that's more what we're utilizing here in these Witches' Sabbaths. This magic is unique because it draws our attention to the interrelational entanglements where we will intentionally enlist other than humans in a collaborative effort to affect change. But we must remember that within this magical framework, entities don't exist solely to be exploited by humans, which is something that happens in some other traditions, and thus we must approach every energy we work with the utmost respect. It is the interconnectedness of all bodies that we draw upon, and thus we can make magic with anything. Magic lives in the phases of the moon and embrace from an ancestor or fairy spirit of the land, herbs, trees, crystals, and so forth. Within witchcraft, everything is sacred. So let us begin. So every Witches' Sabbath, I start off by doing an invocation to all the energies that we're going to work with over time. So I want you to get cozy, and I've already given offering, so stole some of the flowers from a certain arrangement I got for Valentine's Day to give offerings to our goddess today. So I always light a candle, and I always give either food or flowers, something that can decompose naturally, because I have a space in my yard that I place all the offerings. So just get comfortable, close your eyes, and I'm going to do our invocation. Divine source of all being, great mother of 10,000 names sitting in the void, goddess of the earth, goddess of the moon, queen of the underworld, spirits of this land, trusted guides, allies, elements, stone beings, beloved dead. Hear us, help us, and heal us. We ask for your presence here today as we learn the magic of amulets and how to use objects for our healing and for healing the world. And so it is. All right. All about totemic objects. What the heck does that mean? So people's magical relationships to objects is so important to me that I wrote about it in my dissertation. So what I'm about to share with you is some of the research that I did so that you can understand from this archetypal perspective before we dive into the ritual and actually doing stuff. Like, I love doing stuff, but I want you to understand why we're doing stuff. In some tribal societies, there were relationships with physical objects in ways that most modern Westerners do not understand. Imagine knowing that the stone or figure in the palm of your hand has an energy that has a specific potential. It is part of a master plan to help you become your most authentic self. According to the French anthropologist Levi Strauss, the word totemism is used from a form of a magico-religious practice of which the central features is the association of humans with certain classes of animate and inanimate things. So literally us having relationship with things. This type of kinship provides the person with a relationship to the somatic world, the physical world, whereby the physical is not separate from the viewer, and the development of an alliance with it is integral for personal growth. By reclaiming totemism, one is provided with a unique way to connect with the corporeal, perhaps for the first time, in a similar way to our ancestors. When you hear the word totem, you may think of Native American fetishes or of animals and being asked, "What's your totem animal?" While these are both somewhat valid uses of the word totem, they are incomplete in their definition. The word was derived from Ojibwa word ototaman, which translates roughly to one's brother, sister, kin. So like an object that's literally like a buddy, which I love. And was converted into the English word totem in 1791 by a British merchant and translator who gave it a false meaning in the belief that it was designated to guardian spirits of an individual who appeared in the form of an animal. So the idea of a totem animal came from a merchant in 1791, not Native Americans. The Australian ethnologist Haeckel has spent a great deal of time comparing and contrasting all of the definitions of the word totem, which I read all of them, of which there are many. It appears that there are a plethora of anthropologists, religion professors, and sociologists who have tried to explain this concept since its inception in the late 1790s and cannot agree on a definition. Haeckel distilled the mainstreams of thought down to the ideological, mystical, emotional, reverential, and genealogical relationships of social groups or specific persons with natural objects, the so-called totem. All right, so large groups of people would all have the same connection with a particular object. So that's why there are what we call totem poles, right, in the center of some villages, because they all believed that that particular object had power, and it does. All right. This connection to objects is something that has manifested in witchcraft since ancient times, and thus is one of the most important types of magic there is, in my opinion. So today we are going to make our own totem objects based on our own personal needs. Okay, so the fun stuff. Yay! I'm done teaching for the day.
Good to know.
But now you know. All right, so I'm going to pass around this basket of paper and pencils. Take a pencil and a piece of paper. And once everybody does that, I'll tell you what to do next, so we're not being interrupted.
Just give you
Yeah, thanks.
You would like something to write?
That's handy. We got lots of books.
All right.
Thank you.
Which means I don't have to carry around a big tote of magazines.
Yeah, I'm like, woman's murder club.
This is all in Elise's plan. But pass them around. Maybe pay people.
It's also murder.
Okay.
Are you watching you? On the
No, my dad said I should.
That's so good.
Okay.
Wait, what season are you on?
I'm on the last one. I'm always waiting for the last part.
That's good.
I waited a year for this one.
The third season was really good.
It's a really good narrative about a sociopath.
Okay. Yeah, Dad said it was kind of Dexter-y.
But it's really well written.
Okay. Yeah, he said he can't stop watching it.
Everybody get a piece? Almost. We're almost there. Coming around.
Thank you. There you go.
Yeah, everybody definitely needs a pencil because you're going to be using it again. Okay, so I'm going to drop in again, take a couple of minutes, and you're going to think about what you need. This could be anything. I'm going to give you some examples. I need help understanding my own self-worth. I need to learn how to go with the flow. I need to make more time for self-care. I need to protect my body and mind from psychic attacks. I need a better diet. Whatever. Make it something about yourself, not about someone else. Magic works best when it has an inward focus. Okay, so just take some time. Play some background music. Just think about what it is that you need in your life at this very moment. So the next thing we're going to do is let synchronicity do its thing. So this is another concept we'll be going into in the months ahead when we work with tarot. Essentially, synchronicity is allowing the universe to provide you with an answer or help and support through choosing something at random, which isn't random at all, because whatever you choose is divinely guided. So I'm going to pass around this cute little pouch of charms. When you get it, close your eyes and grab one of the charms inside at random, okay? No feeling around going, is that a... None of that, okay? And as that goes around, I'll just ramble on about synchronicity. So, Jung actually noticed when he was working with clients that things would happen at random. One of the best examples that I have is that he had a client who kept having a dream about a scarab beetle, and then during one of his sessions, there was a knock at the window and there was a scarab beetle on the actual windowsill, which is also funny because there was a synchronistic time with Busy when I was working on this part of my PhD dissertation, and I had been like looking at all this stuff around this particular scarab beetle story, and I walked in and I found scarab beetle earrings in her shop
That I made.
that she made that I then immediately bought. And
The only ones I've ever had either.
so it's just funny how, like, once you're attracted to something, that it starts to pull you in particular ways. So he actually wrote about, like, the reason why tarot cards work is because of synchronicity, because you're giving what seems like a random choice of things the opportunity to talk to you. So that's kind of what we're doing with the charm. So for those of you who have grabbed your charm, I'm going to just explain this next part. So we're going to go into a brief meditation to find out what that charm has to say. So remember, objects are here as our spiritual companions. So you can ask that charm directly in this meditation what message it has regarding your need, okay? So then we're going to work with that message to create our amulet. Still going around. How many?
We're good.
You're good? Oh, everybody got it? Okay. Thank you, love. Okay. Okay, so let's close our eyes and take some deep breaths. Take some time to think about your need, and then ask your charm what message it has regarding your need. So just think of this as like using your imagination. What would that charm have to say about your need? So after that charm has given you its answer, thank it for its message, and then ask it if it has any need of you. Does it need you to do anything?
Could you explain that more?
Sure. So there's an idea of reciprocity in working with an object. So it might want you to display it somewhere. It might want you to do a particular task. So just ask if there's any, beyond the message it has for you, if there's a particular thing that it needs you to do. When you're ready, take another deep breath in. And you're going to return to this space. So as I noted before, making things is a really important part of witchcraft. So hopefully this works, because pulling threads out of something is sometimes difficult, but you're going to take one cute little piece of paper that has a hole in it, and then you're going to take one string of the color that calls to you, or the easiest one to get out of the pouch. Didn't practice that, just, we might have, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. Just try not to make a mess. So I'm going to pass these around. So grab a piece of paper and a string. And when you do get that piece of paper, you're going to write down one word that represents the message the charm gave you. One word. And then when you're done with that, you'll use the string to tie the charm onto the paper. Okay? So one word that represents the message that the charm gave you. Tie the charm onto the little piece of paper with the string, and hopefully those strings go through the charm little hole. If they don't, the cool thing about embroidery floss is it's a bunch of fibers, so you can pull them apart if you need to. I didn't test this. I just was like, oh, I need to cut up a bunch of little pieces of string. So one word that represents the message that the charm gave you onto the piece of paper, and then you're going to tie it on.
Does everybody have paper? No.
Yep.
Does this go anywhere? It actually is. Oh,
It's making its way.
What if there were two strong words?
No, you can put both on there.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's more than one word coming through, that's fine. They're small pieces of paper, so I was trying to make it as efficient as possible. And then you can do anything. You can hang it somewhere. So voila, amulet making's that easy. So when you get home, you're going to keep that someplace safe where you can sit and meditate with it over the next couple of weeks. So perhaps keep it on an altar space, or if you received a pouch before, in your pouch. But I want you to actually engage with it in the coming weeks. Oops, still need string.
Can you pass that this way, please?
And I want you to engage with it in the next coming weeks, because it may still have information to share with you. And make sure you do whatever it requests of you, because so when we invite magic into our lives, we don't want to ignore it. when it comes knocking. Like, that's one of those things. It's like having a meditation practice or something. Like, once you're engaged with it, you need to continue to stay engaged with it, or it's just going to be like, oh, that person's not actually interested in what I have to say. And then it's going to be, I'm out. Like, you need to give it the space to continue to communicate with you. So, does anyone want to share what came up for them? Their message? Yes.
So, I saw a bird. It looked like a raven, but small and red on the back of its ear. And there was waves, and I was holding my charm, a very rusty hammer.
Oh.
And the word was nothing. Just nothing. Kept echoing. So I don't know what that means.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Gonna have to think. Well, spend more time with it.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely will.
Anybody else want to share? Yes.
I said that I needed like my own place, a home away from Busyland, and I got the scissors.
Cut it. Cut those
so
ties.
I didn't know if that meant I have to cut Busyland or cut the need to move now. Like, forget that idea because it's not gonna happen anytime soon. Or in order to get that sooner, there can't be Busyland. So both of those items, that sucks. Both of those sucks.
Well,
and the word
or
was sever.
sever, or severing your attachment.
Well, that's what I mean. Sever the need to. I can't do both things now. It's just financially not feasible. So get rid of Busyland or get rid of the idea of moving.
So that's the perfect. So this is a great example. That's the perfect example of spending more time with it, because sometimes things aren't clear. I mean, we are dealing with forces that don't regularly speak English and things.
Well, and the worst, to make it worse, last week Andy came in and said he's thinking of selling the place.
Interesting.
Right at the same time as John came back with me at that house. I can't do both.
Oof.
So one of them has to go, I guess.
So yeah, these are like spending more time trying to understand, giving it the space to do what it needs to do, because sometimes what's best for us isn't always what we want. So that's also a difficult piece, because when you do invite these energies in, they're like, okay, you ready? Like, that's gonna, all right, we're gonna do it now. So, and that's hard. I mean, I remember receiving and looking at it in retrospect, I now understand what it meant, but I remember I was like really planning hard for something, hard. And we think this was our autumn equinox ritual, I think. And we pulled oracle cards that have words on them, and I received caution. And I was like, oh, that can't have anything to do with what I'm doing. Like, I don't believe it. And then lo and behold, everything unfolded in such a way where I went, oh, that's what that card meant. Got it. So sometimes it takes a while for us to understand what's happening. But it does become clear, for sure, at some point.
Pamela.
Yeah.
This isn't related to my charm, but I was on the fence for years about opening a bookstore. I was like kind of getting closer to it, and I had like a drink that has the tops, you know, and I was really like that's all you can think about when you want to do something. So I was sitting there and I'm drinking this drink and I'm almost done with it, and I flipped the top over and it said, like, the day you decide to do it is the best day of your life.
Wow.
I was like, okay, well, I think that's pretty clear.
That's pretty clear. See? So we do receive messages all the time. It's just, are we willing to listen to them? So that was kind of the point of this charm exercise, was like, what is there to share a message with you? And are you going to listen? Are you going to listen? You did! Yay! Okay, so you have your homework. Spend more time with it. Don't overdo it. That's one of those things that's also difficult. So I wouldn't sit down every day and like obsessively go, what do you mean, at it? But maybe once a week, have a check-in with it, just so that you can understand more about what it had to give you. Okay, so I passed out those wonderful little pieces of paper when you first got here, and on them is our goddess prayer for the day, which includes sealing in our magic. So feel free to join in with me or not. I didn't make anything, but I'll be sending this energy out for you guys. So, Sacred Maiden Mother Crone, bless and keep me. Sacred Maiden Mother Crone, bless and keep my family. Sacred Maiden Mother Crone, bless and keep my community. Great Goddess, see my workings. Great Goddess, bless my amulet. Great Goddess, seal my magic. By the power of 3 times 3, let it be, let it be, let it be. By the power of 3 times 3, let it be, let it be, let it be. By the power of 3 times 3, let it be, let it be, let it be. Okay, so before I do my little goddess blessing for you all, let's do a past